Welcome all hunters, anglers, trappers, and shooters to the only fish and wildlife conservation podcast that goes behind the scenes of the business of conservation, the Connecting with Conservation podcast. Our podcast is hosted by John Gassett from the Wildlife Management Institute and Jim Curcuruto of the Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation. John and Jim will talk with experts from all sectors of the conservation arena about their passion for conserving the great outdoors. So please welcome our hosts of the Connecting with Conservation podcast, John and Jim.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Connecting with Conservation, the only podcast that goes behind the scenes to look at the business of fish and wildlife conservation in the U.S. I'm your host, John Gassett with Wildlife Management Institute, and I'm here with my fellow co-host, Jim Curcuruto from Outdoor Stewards of Conservation. How are you doing today, Jim?
We're doing good. Man, there's always a lot going on between the three of us here on this show. I know we got a lot going on, but it was good to find an hour that we can record this episode. And as much as I enjoy recording episodes of Connecting with Conservation podcast, I'd rather be fishing. And today, I think John would rather be fishing. I know Boyd would rather be fishing. But if we can't be fishing, let's talk about fishing. So we got a great guest. Super excited to introduce and welcome Boyd Duckett of Major League Fishing to the podcast. So Boyd, welcome. And why don't you give us a little background on you, and then we'll get into talking about fishing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim, and thanks for inviting me to be on the show. It's Major League Fishing. One of our backbone, one of the pillars of our organization has always been conservation from the very start. So it's exciting for us to have a chance. Not everybody wants to hear about it, right? So it's a lot of fun to get a chance to share with people that are interested. Spent a long time fishing as a professional angler. Then I shifted over into working in the outdoor space. A couple of companies that I have that produce products in the outdoor space. But my passion is really Major League Fishing, and that's something that Gary Klein and I originally came up with this crazy idea about how can we offer tournament fishing that's more exciting to watch and maybe make a difference somewhere down the road. And of course, with that quickly evolved into, catch, weigh, and release, something that we had never done in the tournament world. And, catch, weigh, and immediately release. They're on the boat where we don't have any risk of post-wind mortality or any of those items. So that's kind of been it. We've grown the company quite a bit. We're the largest tournament organization by far. We run about 250 tournaments a year, so we do a ton of it. And of course, conservation, I mentioned, has been a big piece, and developed our Fisheries management division, which we're really proud of, and we really work hard to, with not only ourselves, but like our high school teams and things like that, to get involved in habitat. So that's sort of what we do.
Man, it's envious that you're doing all that stuff, but you probably wouldn't mind being out on the water a little bit more since you got so much going on. So Major League Fishing is got a lot of different divisions too, right? I mean, are there major leagues and minor leagues fishing? Like, what are some of the big divisions and some of the up-and-coming divisions?
Sure. So in 2019, we acquired what was FLW, which was the biggest by far in the grassroots portions, and we combined the companies, which now leaves us in high school fishing. Then we have our college fishing programs. We have the Phoenix BFL Bass Fishing League programs. We have the Toyota Series. Then we move up to a semi-pro level. Really at the Toyota Series, and then a pro level at the pro circuit. So the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit is a pro level. Then our highest level, top 50 in the world, fish the Bass Pro Tour. Then we also run some specialty events in the fall, which are team events drawn from that group of pros. So you'll see those specialty made-for-TV events. So that's kind of the umbrella of all the tournaments that we do.
Yeah, so it's always exciting to watch, real professionals catch bass, because I'm really bad at it. So I like to watch them. I live vicariously through them. But as a former agency director, we all know that, high school is the age where you get kids either doing these types of activities, hunting, fishing, or so on, or you lose them or you don't get them. And talk a little bit more about your high school and even college programs. What kind of reach you've got and how active they are.
Yeah, so the high school program is it's a really strong. It's several thousand that we reach through that process, and we're excited about that. And in the last 2 or 3 years, especially, we have found sponsors that kind of see the long game and the interest in getting high school kids involved, college kids as well. That's not lumped the same. It's very different. Those kids that go to college, and especially on the college team, they're very serious, probably, or it seems the majority of them, about becoming a tournament angler. A lot of those high school kids, they like the competition and want to be part of it. So the critical item there is to take all of those, because, nationally, it's tens of thousands of high school kids. And we want to connect them permanently to the outdoors. And as you guys know, one of the things I talk about with my own staff, and we have these conversations, is why does that matter? It doesn't matter that we want them all tournament fishing, but it matters because in the outdoor space, the constituency in the outdoor space also becomes those responsible for preserving the outdoor space. And it's nothing negative politically, but honestly, a lot of times, not by intention, but we're urban governed today, and we're represented. It's not that sometimes they don't want to represent us. It's that they don't relate to us because that particular individual never fished and never never went hunting and has no experience in the outdoor space. So that's created some disconnect. So once in a while you'll see, a proposed legislation or a law or something that doesn't make any sense at all. And it's because those that worked on it had no, they were not in touch with, had no, and it's not their fault. I can't run the hockey league. I don't know anything about it, right? So I'd be a really bad choice for that. And so I think it's incumbent on us to make as many people aware of the outdoor space, to use it, but more importantly, to understand it, at least be aware, so that our constituency is larger and know that the majority of Americans care about outdoor space. And a lot of times that's a secret and not out front. So that's always in the back of mind, and the things that we can do to expand people's awareness. Participation's great, but awareness is critical.
Well, and you're right. That's something that's often overlooked. And I've made the statement a number of times that we don't want everybody in the U.S. to be a deer hunter, or everybody to be a bass fisher. The resource can't stand that pressure. So we'd have to allot it with quotas, or, we'd have to partition it out more. But what we want people is to be aware of, these are your resources. They're publicly owned, and you may not go fish, you may never hunt, but you got clean air, you got clean water, clean forest, healthy environment, all the other things you like, nice place for your kids to play. And, that's the hook, because you're right. You educate them on that. And then even if you just have to take them one time, let them catch a bluegill, at least they relate a little bit more to you. And the next time an issue comes up, they vote your way because they've done it. They believe in it.
Yeah. And for the listeners and viewers, real quick lesson, right? When you where somebody buys a fishing license, it comes about $800-900 million a year in fishing license sales, and that money goes right to the local Department of Natural Resources. And they couple that when people buy a fishing pole, a rod, a reel, a lure, or put motorboat fuel in their fishing boat, there's another 600 million. So about 1.5 million billion. I'm sorry. I'm 1.5 billion, right? And you couple that with, hunting, excise taxes, a hunting license, and we're pushing 3 billion or 3.5 billion a year, which is $100 million a day for conservation coming from people that are outdoors. And I loved what you said, Boyd. We kind of tend to ourselves, do our own thing. We're not very, opinionated, or don't go out of our way to to get into politics a lot, but if your voice isn't heard, then we've got a problem. So awareness is a key. So if you are a current angler, be sure to spread the word on the positive contributions you're making, whether it's funding conservation, cleaning up the environment. Be sure to do that. And Major League Fishing, I'm super excited about your fisheries management division. Tell us why you started that and some of the projects that you've done with them.
Yeah, so my hat's off to my buddy Gary Klein, in that he really has pushed that end of it. And obviously, we all did it together, but he's certainly a lifetime conservationist. Was able to recruit Stephen Barden, who runs our fisheries management division, and you guys probably know Stephen, maybe, but there's no one more passionate than Stephen if you've met him. But really, what we wanted was the opportunity to give back to the fisheries that we travel to, and to legitimately make a difference. Not a $1,000 check, or get out there put your boots on and make a difference. So these structure activations that we put together, and those are really fun projects. So we'll take various structures depending on what the water body is, get with the local wildlife people to determine locations and things of that such. But those are the projects we try to do. Then we try to get our high school teams, some of our young guys, together to join. We always have a number of our pros that volunteer at Bass Pro Tour level. There's top 50 guys in the world, but trust me, they are passionate about their space and about their sport. So it's a fun event, and we get a lot of coverage. Generally, the local news station will cover that, and just create. Here we are back to awareness. Create awareness that when guys come, tournament organizations or tournament fishermen, local tournament fishermen, they care about it, and they really make it better than it was. That's maybe sometimes a misunderstanding. We're the ones using the area, but we're also the ones that have really gone in and made it better than it was. You look at Ducks Unlimited, and what they accomplished over time, by being aware of it and really giving back and finding ways to have it increased. Wild Turkey Federation, there was a time, can't believe it now, there was a time where, I want to say probably in the 80s, when turkey were rare in the South, where I'm from. Now we have billions of them, and it's because of good management. It's because people came together and created the funding needed to make the studies, do the right things, and increase the value of our habitat. Our fisheries, nationwide. I spent a lifetime, tournament fishing. So I'm not saying I've fished in every state, but almost every state probably. And over time, these fisheries departments have really learned how to manage well, and I'm so proud to get a chance now to work with them. One of the things we do at Major League Fishing, we catch, weigh in, immediately release. If anybody that's watched Bass Pro Tour sees that we do that. Well, one of the things we get from that is we get data, because our score tracker system has a location and a timestamp on every fish that's caught. Think about that. That's a massive amount of data. Then what we do for some of the states that we work closely with, and I want to be able to do this with everyone. Now, it's under lock and key. What I mean by that is that data, when we work with a state agency, we have a contract where that data is only used for the benefit of the agency. We're not giving away anglers fishing holes, okay? That matters. So that's a big deal, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll take that data and we'll overlay that onto a topo map, and now that state can see, lake whatever, every fish that was caught, every depth, and a timestamp. And we can do that over and over and over. And while I'm on that subject, one of the initiatives that we have worked the past 3 years, man, strong, is to rebuild our score tracker system. So we partnered with American Outdoor Brands, AOB. One of their brands is Bubba, the Bubba scale. And so we now have a Bubba scale, new one. We're using it on the Bass Pro Tour and the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit currently, but it's our desiring, and very soon, like probably March of next year, we're going to make our score tracker system and our boba scale system available to everyone, where every tournament, if they choose, can catch, weigh, and release immediately on the water. Huge benefit from conservation. But think about what that will do to help these state fisheries identify locations and time and depth. Things, quite honestly, especially in a deep fishery, smallmouth population. I remember working with Missouri. We had a couple of Bass Pro Tour events there, back to back or year to year, or whatever. So we had 2 tournaments up there, and the data from those 2 tournaments on the smallmouth and Table Rock Lake were greater than their history of their data, because you can't electroshock in 35 feet, and you don't know. So anyway, those kind of things are really, really important to us, and we're excited that works hand in hand with offering the public a great opportunity to catch, weigh, and immediate release, and also the data that helps the states do a better job.
Yeah, well, we're really glad to hear about the catch, weigh, and release thing. That's the future, I think, and I think you agree of tournament fishing. I've coming from my background. Of course, I restored elk to Eastern Kentucky, was head of that program up, and the cardinal rule was, catch them quick, treat them well, and get them out, get them back, on the range as quick as you can. The longer you hold them, the more mortality you have. I think that's universal across wild animals, whether fish, mammals, birds, whatever, is, that stress of having them in a confined, there's things can go wrong. Temperatures can change, oxygen levels. The quicker you can get them back in the water, the better chance they got to survive, just like our elk did. Tell us a little bit more about the evolution of that. I know there's been some research done, and obviously we recognize there's an issue there that we got to work on. And as sportsmen usually do, it's like we clean up, we fix problems when we find them. So talk a little bit about your involvement with that.
Yeah, so tournament fishing is extremely popular. Anybody that's ever on the water knows that, and there's a lot of participation. We're learning some about possibilities and issues with post weigh-in mortality. So recognizing that, and common sense would take you wouldn't even have to see the studies to know that if you catch a fish, you put him immediately back in the water, they're okay. So everybody kind of gets that piece of it, but it became hard to say, well, how can everybody do that and still have a competition? So this required technology. One, we have to have a scale that's perfectly accurate for every competitor. We've got that. And then what you see us do at Bass Pro Tour, where you can go online, you can follow any of the pro events and watch Score Tracker live, right? You see where it is. Well, they now can participate in that as well. So their friends and family can watch them all day. Just like you watch Bass Pro Tour, you can watch your local tournament on Lake Wiley, South Carolina, or wherever it is, and watch them compete. So that's a really fun upgrade for the tournament anglers. And then at the same time, just eliminate any risk left of hurting the bass. So that should have a big impact on helping our fisheries, especially helping our big fish. That's the numbers, maybe not so much, but definitely big fish, because they're the ones that stress the easiest in a confined live well or whatever. So we're just excited about, man, we've been about 3 years trying to work through this thing. So it's huge for us, and to be able to launch it to the public, to all tournament organizations, roughly March of next year. I can't wait for the day, man. I'm gonna be on the phone with everybody saying, hey, here it is, guys.
It's real-time data then as they're catching the fish.
It's real time. It's just like what you see on Bass Pro Tour. Yeah, we transfer that data in less than 30 seconds. So you can pick up, if you're a competitor, you can pick up your phone and you can scroll halfway through the day and say, we're in 17th place and we're 5 pounds out, So, and that's really a cool dynamic for the participants.
Man, that's exciting stuff. I'm looking for. I'm a fan of Major League Fishing. I love watching it, and like John said earlier on, it's a little bit, of a hit to my ego, because I've been fishing for 40 years, 45 years, but nowhere near how these guys can catch them. These ladies can fish them for sure. But we had on Matt Whitman from American Outdoor Brands and Bubba Blade, and he was saying a little something about that a little bit ago. So this is the scoop. So if you're listening, pay attention to this, and that's going to be exciting stuff for all different levels of anglers out there. So very cool stuff. One of the other things I noticed on your website, you had a link to the Clean, Drain, Dry program. That was always a big conservation program in my mind that doesn't get a lot of play. And I guess talk a little bit about your connection to that and the reason why we need to clean, drain, and dry.
Yeah, so over time, I started tournament fishing when I was 17, and that's 1977. So I've watched fisheries across America change to the good and to the worse for various reasons. But invasive species of grass, anglers misunderstand. Everybody wants grass because it's a better fishery, but you have to realize that grasses that are not indigenous to your water, what you want is a grass that can survive and fit within the ecosystem. That's not all grasses. And invasive species are generally damaging, very damaging to your fishery. So what we want to do is not transport grass through your live wells and the pumps in your live wells and grass stuck to your trailer. And, it's not by accident. I mean, it's by accident, guys. Don't mean to hurt the fishery by any means, but they just need to have awareness. So we push that. We require that when you put in it at one of our events, because we don't, our guys come from all over the country, especially our Toyota series and Pro Circuit and Bass events, Bass Pro Tour events, and we want to make sure they're dry so that we don't have a living exotic species come in and go into another lake. So that's what that program's about.
Yeah, it's not just grasses. There's other things that move with that water. Zebra mussels, quaggas. We get, I say great. People go back and forth what kind of structure you want grass, but I have a lake here in our community that we've had to really fight with filamentous algae because it makes it almost impossible to fish when you get a good bloom. Or Didymo in some of our rivers and streams here. It's like it all wasn't here 20 years ago, and now it is. So it came in on somebody's boat or waders or somehow.
And you can't drag anything through it. Your baits, you're done fishing, on the bottom. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think just again for the listeners and viewers, if you're a new boater, if you're a boater that doesn't clean off your boat, check out that program. There's a lot of information on clean, drain, dry, and the reasons that you need to be doing it. Because you go from one recreational lake to another one, you don't want to transport something that you're not supposed to be transporting. So check out that program for sure. And if you want to get into fishing, if you aren't, there's also a link on Major League's MLF's website about where to buy a fishing license in all 50 states, right? And Boyd, talk about putting that there and the reasons why we want to get more people out enjoying the outdoors.
Well, we require a fishing license, and that is checked at every tournament that we have, and that's critical. And to make it easy for our anglers, and we certainly want that link to be out there. We also want everybody to buy the fishing license because that's your opportunity to be part of a positive effort. You mentioned earlier about the 1 point, not you said million, but it's billion. See, we're used to a million's a lot for us, right? So it's hard to remember to say billions, unless you're Donald Trump, I guess. Billions, but the opportunity to be able to easily get the license is important, and it's not worth cheating. Hey, help us out. Pay the license fee. They're not high, and they help you have a fishery year over year that you can fish in. Do your part. Buy the license.
Yeah, and that's important because agencies, they try to improve these systems and try to make them more user friendly, but government in general doesn't do a fairly poor job of advancing technology. And I had the idea the other day. At my agency, I always said, I want a license system that's a 3-question system. I can answer 3 questions and it knows exactly what licenses and permits I need. And that was pre-AI. Now with AI, it's like I'm waiting for the first agency that says, the license system's AI. You just talk to it and tell it what you want to do, and it spits out the appropriate licenses, so that there's really no excuse not to do it because you didn't click the right button. And but that's cutting edge stuff, and agencies and governments don't do cutting edge stuff. They want people like us to test it out first. So we certainly appreciate you doing those links, because that's that is the lifeblood of those agencies, and that's how they manage those fish populations and the habitat that they're associated with.
Yeah, and not only that, those boat ramps that you use, a lot of them are built by excise tax products and fishing licenses. So, more access, better quality fisheries all come from buying that fishing license. And like Boyd said, they're not all that expensive. So, and if you are a current angler and you want to get a good feeling, get a tingling, and invite somebody to come with you and watch them catch your first fish. You can catch your 1,000th bass, but you watch somebody catch your first fish, there's nothing like it. But great programs out there. I love hearing about all the work MLF's doing with high school and college anglers. But I guess why don't you tell us a little bit of what, when you're not working, what do you like to fish for or get outside for that you got coming up this fall?
Well, if getting to work in the outdoor space, we all complain about the hard days, but honestly, it's a pretty fun experience. To get to work in and around the fishing industry. All the companies that I have today now are in the fishing space, so that's not all bad. But I love to fish, obviously. Not fishing, at the highest level. I've still fished some tournaments because I miss doing it, but don't fish Bass Pro Tour anymore. But I still love to go. I live on Lake Guntersville, which is, one of the better fisheries. But I will tell you that I didn't spend my life crappie fishing. Didn't do a lot of that. And the last 3 or 4 years, we have a great crappie population, and they're wonderful to eat, and they're plentiful. So, and I love fish. So I've kind of gotten into the crappie fishing thing, and it's fun and exciting, and to go out and chase them. And especially, I like to go in the wintertime when they're not on the banks and you're looking offshore. It's more like bass fishing in that way, but I really enjoy crappie. So that's a big part of what I do. And I play golf too. I like to play golf.
I got to follow up then. Have you done the Lake Grenada thing yet?
I have been there. Yes,
where they target individual crappie, but they're getting that's a different class of crappie than most people are used to.
Gigantics, yeah. With the advent of forward-facing sonar, has changed crappie fishing completely. We used to go fish structure. Now we don't care about structure. We're looking for schools. We learned that they chase bait. A lot of them are just in open water most of the year. It's just not like what we thought until forward-facing sonar. But that's a lot of fun to do. It's fun to find them and watch your jig go down and watch that blob come up and hit it. It's a lot of fun.
Targeting one fish.
Yeah, one fish.
We're going to catch that fish.
A big one.
Yeah, I hadn't done it yet, but my old fisheries director from Kentucky has done a couple of times, and he says it's a new world.
I went out with a buddy of mine, Noah Winslow. He fishes some of the lower level MLF stuff in Connecticut and New York, and he's teaching me, younger kid, what am I looking at? That's my lure going down. That's the fish right there looking at it. It is pretty wild, but it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I'm like, well, let's go, fish the weed bed or something like that.
You got to have a passion too. I was going to tell a little anecdote. I don't know which series this guy fishes. I got a guy in my neighborhood. We have about 200 homes, an 80-acre lake just managed for bass, and I help do the management, plan for that. Do electrofishing in it from time to time. But this guy he's through his high school career, and he's in college. He's in somewhere in one of these tournament series things, and he is on that lake every day. If I go down there right now, he's down there trying new lures, trying new techniques, if there's a thunderstorm, he might not be there. But other than that, I've never been down there that he's not on the lake. I mean, that's dedication now. And it doesn't matter how hot it is, how cold it is, he's going to be out there practicing. And that's a different breed there.
One of the things that people don't necessarily think about from a professional bass angler, and this is worth mentioning, golf's a big recreational sport, right? But there's, 172 guys that took it to another level in the world. That's the guys you see on TV. And they played golf there every day since they were big enough to hold a club. Our sport has the same thing. There is no difference. We have got, everybody loves to fish. It's another level what these guys do. And it's because, just like your friend, they put that time and energy and effort. And then, and then there are people that have great natural ability to understand the outdoors, understand the impact of weather and environment. And they're just special. Our sport's it's no different than any other sport. And the guys that work the hardest, they win the most. And that's how it is. Not saying you have to do. Hey, look, it's a bunch of work. I'm not saying that's the better way. It's way more fun to go enjoy it. Okay, but
And he goes after it like it's his job, but it's like that's a pretty cool job to have. If you're absolutely.
Well, Boyd, man, this was great. I mean, so much going on in the fishing world. I'm very excited about what's to come on that catchway release, kind of worldwide or nationwide for all different tournaments. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping out the DNRs with the information that you're providing them so they can better manage for the species. And I don't know if you want to maybe tell us your website and your social media where folks can go learn a little bit more about what's going on, the schedules and stuff at MLF. I know you got your Heritage Cup coming up and all that stuff. So plenty to watch always.
Yeah, that's right. So you just go to MajorLeagueFishing.com. And all the different circuits are up there. All the information, of course, is up front. And if you have a chance, check out our Fisheries Management Division. FMD is what it says on the tab. And you'll get to see some of the projects that we've done. And we really have a good time doing that. So take a look at it.
Yeah. Well, Boyd, we appreciate you coming on. And Jim did hit the highlights of all the great things you're doing for conservation. There's one I wanted to mention specifically. And we talked a little bit about it. We didn't get deep into it, but you're a manufacturer. You're an excise taxpayer. So you're part of that $1 billion a year in conservation that flows back through state agencies and gets back into our rivers, streams, and lakes. So thank you for that as well. It's a unique conservation model. We're the only one like it in the world, but I think it's the best one in the world. And you're a big part of that. So we appreciate it. And so, and to our listeners, thank you for being participants. Thank you for hunting, fishing, boating, shooting, recreationally shooting, all the things that we do and know and love. Appreciate you listening. I hope you got a lot from this. Check out our guest website. Check out their products, see what they've got going on. Look at all the cool things that are there. Hope you like this. If you did, subscribe, like our podcast. That helps us and helps you. And other than that, we'll see you in the woods or on the water. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Connecting with Conservation podcast. Please do us a favor and tell your buddies, friends, family, and others about what you've learned here today. If you like what you heard, come on back anytime and listen to another episode of the Connecting with Conservation podcast.